Just typing out an email.
So I never noticed the background unfrazzled. Is that
It came from um, pre-COVID. I felt like I was cooking. I had two pretty big businesses. One that I was more day-to-day operations. The other one with a partner. That other one we eventually sold. But the pandemic killed the one that I was mostly in charge of, which was staffing. I was helping mid-sized companies identify bottlenecks and then either coach them through or put together teams and help them speed up their efficiencies. It was working great. I was being the middleman because I was like, if I put the team together, I want to kind of be control of that. So if I lose this client, I could just move that team over. COVID came, I had to lay off all those people. In that same time, just like dumping a bunch of money into real estate, working with older guys that were much older than me. So I just switched post that. I mean, it killed me to let go of that many people. But then I moved into real estate with my friends that were 80, 90. We were setting up all kinds of things. I was doing most of the maintenance and then just like helping facilitate deals. They were most of the structuring side. They've been doing paperwork. I had remaining interest with them. I was doing a lot of stuff. We were bifurcating notes. I was moving mortgages. We were doing a lot of what I found very enjoyable things. But then they started passing, and then it was like trying to catch knives all over the place. So then now that whole friend group is pretty much passed. There's a couple of them, but they just kind of tapped out and we're like, hey, we're going to spend time with family. We don't really need this. You came in. They didn't say it like this, but I came at the maybe the 11th hour of them doing that stuff. They were all working with each other way longer than I've ever been alive. And I just so happened to identify them, find them, harass them enough to kind of get in that circle. So about maybe a year and a half ago, too, we were getting prepped to sell that business, but in that time, it was just like I was the trustee. It was just a lot of turmoil. So I was going through crisis. So I was starting to have calls with a lot of people that I looked up to, respected, old industry people, and I was capturing that to do a podcast to just go like, most entrepreneurs hit this point where it's just like there's you're overwhelmed. How do you become an unfrazzled entrepreneur? I've gone through this process enough. I identify that this is another crisis mode. At some point, I'm going to get out of it. It turned out to be way more therapeutic than I thought, and like very. A lot of people said a lot of things that they probably did not want to go out public, so I just kind of they're in a vault now, and that podcast never launched, but I keep that up until the next business venture that I have, and then I'll probably change the background. It's just a blue screen. If I move my hands fast enough, you can kind of see it.
oh yeah.
But that's what that is, and I keep it up there just to remind me of like I'm on the later half of this crisis. Now I'm looking to get back into work and do
Okay.
something. This glass business I think is a really good fit. I haven't had a ton of time to talk to my wife just because of we got a lot of stuff that we're still kind of juggling. We're in the process of maybe moving. We're still talking to the owner. We were supposed to move in there a couple of months ago, but he's just we're having issues with the gas and stuff like that. But
Moving like out of what? Where are you gonna move
just
to?
down the street. We've moved
Oh, okay.
now. The last three moves, we moved from like one house down four houses, down a block. This house is down three blocks. We normally just buy, hold, and then move to the next and then rent out the other. We know quite a bit of people in this neighborhood, so they know kind of what we're looking for. We're just looking for a house that there's a lot of older people in this area, so if one of them passes or something happens where they need somebody to come and fix up the house, we have a lot of goodwill in this neighborhood because we've turned a lot of these houses around. So they kind of call us, and then we kind of look at it and go, "Is this one we want to move into? Do we just want to straight turn it around, or what's the case may be?" But there's a little
Are
over
you
$1 million
selling? Are you
property.
selling the old houses or are you renting them out?
We sold the last one only because we bought it like right at 100 and the market has screamed, and then we sold it for almost 5 and we were able to 121 that profit out. So I was just like, even
You
if we
bought it
rent
for a
this,
100,000 and you sold it for five.
close to
How much
5.
did you put into it? How much money did you have to put into them?
Almost none with windows and stuff like that. We were living in there, so it was just like minor fixes, not anything major. But it was a house that was bought, traded to an estate. The estate had two families attached. One of the family members passed, moved it to her kids. Then it just the management company didn't take care of it. Then it was like becoming decrepit. So then there was just a bunch of lawyers. So I would go to Tampa, and there'd be like 8 lawyers sitting there, and then I'd be talking to them. At the first like maybe 15 meetings, I was like petrified because I was like, these are all like high paid professionals. But then after a while, I was like, I'm not paying any of those lawyers. And all these people that are paying lawyers are paying probably more than this house is even worth now. The longer this goes on, these people are just going to get more and more frustrated. And this is one house of this larger portfolio that like doesn't really matter. At some point, they're going to get burned out, and nobody's going to want to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole because there's so many parties involved that I'm the only game in town. So I would go over there and then put my feet up, and then I would just like, you guys can talk as
How
much
was
as you
there
want,
nobody else trying to pick this house up though?
because it was a mess. It was
Oh,
semi-probated because the person passed, so like 1/8 of it was in. It was just a mess. It was a part of a larger portfolio. Nobody was getting along, and it was very
crazy.
interesting. The closing paperwork was like two old school telephone books stacked up on top of each other. I have that picture somewhere with me and my wife, but it was just like ridiculous. And the county had a bunch of liens on it that we all got waived out because I found a small, not loophole, but just a law that allowed first time home buyers, but the first time home buyers that you need to qualify was only like you didn't own a house in the last 3 years. So since we bought the
Right.
previous house longer than that, we qualified for that. So then we dispersed all the liens off the property. It was very fun and interesting. It took us probably 3 to 4 years to close that deal from initially like knocking on the door and talking to the neighbors. So
Wow.
I didn't mean to rant, but you asked me, and that's kind of been the journey. That's
You're a talker, brother. You are a good podcast guy.
well, we still have a podcast. We have a podcast network. We got a lot of things going on, but I just like I don't want to do startups anymore. I just want to like get back to business. I think a franchise is the best fit for me and my wife currently. She's a really good manager. I want to move her out of that position. We've done a couple of things before, so we kind of know how we work together.
Yeah.
And we're just looking for that right fit. I think, was it last night's call? I apologize. I've just been like up.
Yeah. It was last night. It was Joshua Shumway in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. His story just like really resonated with me. It was just like, oh, all the stuff that he is saying is all the stuff that I'm kind of currently going through, especially in helping nonprofits and everything. Is just like that. If he can do it, I feel I can do it. And the fact that he has that team kind of set up like that, I think my wife could come in and play different. She obviously not going to be glass cutting or installing, but the
Right.
in-house person or the sales or handling the books, or like there's a couple of roles that she can fill. So even if she doesn't stop working and then immediately jump in, she can play a small role, and then we can figure out the best fit for her and then kind of develop that role. So I'm very interested to hear a lot more calls from other owners to see like, does everybody kind of have that same org chart? Are there different ways that people have the business set up? I'm sure there are, because I'm sure there's people that are a little bit more handy and
Yeah.
then they play different roles. So
Yeah. Yeah. So there's I have four guys that are all owners. Two of them are semi-involved. Two of them are owner-operator. Joshua Shumway, like we consider owner-operator. He's in the day-to-day operations, even though that he hasn't been in the day-to-day operations for the last month because she has that newborn. That's pretty amazing. In his first year, he completely exited his own business for a month. I couldn't believe it when he told me. He called me a month ago and he's like, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to do validation call." And that was last month because they do it once a month. And he's like, "I'm going to take a month off from everything. And I'm going to see how it goes. Like this is the true test." And I'm like, "Wow!" Like I don't think I could even do that, but I understand why he did it. And he's a spiritual guy. Like you got that from the call, which I love. And he did it. He's like, the only time I had to get on the phone is really if there was like a disgruntled either customer or like a builder that I had to answer some questions for. But he's like, other than that, it ran itself. And
nice.
to say that in the 11th month, first year operation,
And he said the
that's pretty
first
freaking amazing.
4 months were pretty much lackluster because he
He said
went into
he,
it.
he hit the reset button on month 5. And the fact that he hit a reset button and he is scaling, I mean, the last 4 months, he's done 100,000
Mm.
in his last 4 months. That's pretty amazing. And it's all due to his organic lead generation, like him going out there and just beating the streets, and also getting behind, like he said, the Facebook groups, and getting, just letting people know that he's there. But also following through is huge. People buy from people they like.
Yep.
If they like you, if they trust you. But the most important thing is if you follow through. So if you can just do what you say you're going to do, you're going to win business. People just want to rely on somebody in home service. That's it.
Especially here in Florida. I mean, golly, if you could just
Yeah.
answer the phone, you'd be a millionaire. Like it just is like ridiculous out here how people operate. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah. So we'll have the call center for all that stuff. And then also you'd have a landline or a cell phone for your team because obviously any like the subcontractors, GCs, the builders, you want them to call you directly. And so you're going to have your phone number. You're going to have business cards that you're giving out with your team's phone number. And obviously those are all the free leads that you'd be getting. But everything else is tracked and monitored. So if like your Facebook click throughs, your Instagram click throughs, your direct mails, your flyers, they all have different numbers on it, but
Oh,
they all
nice.
lead to the call center because we can track and monitor where they're seeing you,
Yeah, I
which is
like how
nice.
quick he was to pull up like the percentages of things. I know sometimes those KPIs are a little bit difficult depending on who's asking the question,
To
especially if you're not like prepared. But the fact that he was doing it on the fly, I was just like, oh, that tech stack that you have must be easy enough if you can pull that stuff up. He seemed pretty tech savvy anyway, so it wasn't like it was like
he
blowing my
wasn't
mind.
pulling
But
up his own charts. He was pulling up our charts that we have for you guys. 100%. Yep.
interesting. I
And
also
we're,
like the part that he said that he is an entrepreneur, and I guess that was slight of my fears. Just like I feel old enough now that I understand being a serial entrepreneur to where I'm at now. I more want to be a little bit more of a business guy, but I don't want to be so rigid that I can't like, hey, let's try a little bit of. So him even saying like, this is kind of what corporate suggests. We do it this way, but the system is what we follow. It's just at this piece, it didn't really work for how he was saying getting the leads. He said some people had mad spends. He keeps his spends lows because of how he's generating his own business. I was
yep.
like, okay, there's enough flexibility in there. And I think if, as long as I can ask the question, it's not like I'm going to be like, well, I want to do this. I want to install wood, whatever. It's like, I'm not going to go that crazy, but just like, hey, I got an idea for XYZ. What do you think? Who can I bounce this off of? I guess that's the piece that I miss with like the friends that I passed. I don't have that camaraderie. I loved like getting information and opinions and then seeking wise counsel for and then doing the thing. I wasn't like ever charging the hill. I mean, younger, I was for sure charging the hill all the time, but as I got older, just like getting in community and asking the questions to figure out like what is the best way to move forward, then I can execute on that. But that's what I'm missing now. And that's why I'm going from frazzled to hopefully unfrazzled, where it's just like, I think I understand what I'm looking for. I believe a franchise will offer all the pieces that I'm currently missing that I can get back into. It seemed like he was doing calls with other owners, internal. You guys have 3 calls for people like me that are just looking into the system. I feel like you must have marketing
Four.
calls. You
We have
must
four
have
different.
all those same amount of calls for this system. You guys have a large corporation. If there shouldn't be anything that I
So
need answers
instantly, when
on.
you partner with Gatsby, you're talking to their owners. You know, like instantly, we have an owners chat, and so we work with teams. Everybody's communicating constantly, and that means if you want to reach out to the corporate, you know, we have a director of operations, director of sales, director of marketing, director of finance, and a brand president, and a field directors director. There's so much support with corporate, but that's not like the major thing is reaching out to other franchisees and their teams directly at any time. And like specifically the Florida guys, you know, we have my Miami guys are C-suite studs. Like they just opened 2 weeks ago. I can't wait for them. I mean, Elaine and Brad are sweet, best friends. But they've already found their own glass fabricator that we didn't have a network with. So like that's the type of guys that they
What
roll
did
with.
they come from? What was their past?
Elaine was a VP of operations for J&J, Johnson and Johnson.
Okay.
And then Brad was a C-suite for a cellular company.
Oh, so nothing in real
No,
estate. Okay.
glass. I'm sure they had some real estate something else in there, but no, they don't have any construction.
Okay. I didn't know if that was going to be a plus or minus, but Joshua even talking yesterday where he's just like, I'm a builder, I do these. It wasn't really lined up with class, but I knew enough to kind of get my feet wet. I was just like, okay, I don't really have any preconceived notions or teams. Even all the people the plumber that we had that was a master plumber passed. Like he was 70 working, but he loved doing it, and it was just like, oh, I don't have these guys anymore. But it doesn't seem like I need a full squad. It's not like I'm doing full rehabs anymore.
You just need to network and communicate,
Yeah, I like
and
that.
you obviously can do that. You know, this is a relationship business. It really is. When it comes to home service, obviously you need the technical side, which is your installer, but to get the business and the marketing and managing and all that, that comes naturally. Like we just do a really good job of branding and marketing and horsepower. getting business is not hard for us, but like the follow through, that's the most important part for the franchisees. And then we have all the support if you need it, But finding that first install technician is key. And then you're going to hire a junior installer right after, which is just, it's somebody with extra hands there to help your lead installer. But the greatest thing is your lead installer is training your junior installer, and your junior installer after 3 to 6 months can go off and do his own installs. And so you're really, you're training him, and then you're going to hire a third installer at month 6, month 7 ish. And so it scales quick.
How many
Um,
vans is that? Do you need a van for each installer?
it's typically 2 guys in a truck. I mean,
Okay,
that's really
two.
how it
Okay,
works. So you're going to start with that Ram Pro Master Glass Rack, and then you have a sales vehicle. Now, I would encourage you to get a truck as a sales vehicle because you can put a glass rack in the back of the truck, and now you have 2 vehicles going to 2 different jobs. Now you're scaling quicker. You can do a car if you want to. You can do a fuel efficient sedan or a Camry or Tesla, whatever you want. But if you get a truck, if you think about it in the future, it's around month 7 that our franchisees are going, man, like we may be needing another vehicle pretty soon. And it's always around month 9, 11 that they're getting another vehicle.
okay,
So, so if you get a truck as your sales vehicle, you don't have to go necessarily and buy another vehicle. You can just use the truck as an install vehicle.
nice. Okay,
You can always wrap your personal vehicle too. That's what Miami did. They have a van, and then they have a sales vehicle, and then they both wrap their
personal vehicles,
personal vehicles. And I mean, those are walking billboards.
billboards.
I mean, that there's no better advertising than your vehicle being on the street and people seeing it. It really does justice.
Okay, I guess I have one last question because I've never been in corporate. Um, I've heard you say that you can reach out to corporate. Is that a reach up to, and then they just like point you to someone else, or is it reach out to corporate and they will answer the phone and or have some
Yes,
type of like
like I
calendar
said,
like you have where you can schedule out like 30-minute, 20-minute
we have
calls?
direct messaging. So
Okay,
like we use Teams as well. You can literally reach out to any of the owners, any of the GMs, any of the teams, and corporate. So when I
okay,
say corporate, I'm talking about the brand president, the director of operations, the director of sales, the director of marketing. They may or may not get back to you within that second, but they'll get back to you within that
24
day.
hours or so. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just have very little corporate experience as far as like communication, other than just like if I'm um, consulting, then obviously they're paying me a bunch of money, so they're gonna make sure that when I have a question, it gets answered, but not from an
Yeah.
internal. I guess that I can ask my wife too. I know her regional and district always want her to be a regional district. She doesn't want to do it because she doesn't want to be driving half the state. But I know she's said it before, like they say call, 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 but then as soon as I call, they just push me off to somebody else, and I was just like, oh, I don't know about that world at all.
No, the good thing about us is, I mean, that's why you're talking to us. We're an emerging brand. So what that means is like everything you have concern, we'll never dictate you. We have systems and processes, we have infrastructure and support. That's the best. That's the reason why you're talking to me. But we have, if you have an idea or if you have something that comes up, yeah, we listen to it. And if it's a good enough idea and the franchisees support it, we'll change.
Okay.
Our call center was not doing the best 6 months ago. So guess what? We changed call centers, completely changed it. And so it used to be $300 a month for the call center. Now
Yeah,
it's
it's
two
dropped.
seventy
Yeah, you
five. We
said that
dropped
that I
it, went
thought was
five.
interesting at that time. Yeah, and
Yeah,
Joshua
it's
did
because we.
notice that too. That he said like, oh, when I came in, we didn't have all these things, but he's, I believe, felt like he's had a hand in like molding this thing, which he enjoyed. So I enjoyed
He's
that.
the OG. He built the brand. I always say it. Him, Zach Spicer in Denver, Keith Nowacki in Boise. I mean, those guys laid the foundation of the brand. They were the early adopters. They built, they believed in this idea, the vision of Gatsby. Well, they were the first ones to do it, to operate and to scale. They went through all of the obstacles that you'll never have to see or feel. And
Okay.
so it is different. It's a different story to be told when you join now. And that's what he was trying to, I think, articulate or describe. It's just a different experience when you join now versus when he joined, the top, the first five, first 10. We're at 30. I mean, we have two that have already are signing next Tuesday. So we're going to have 38 here very soon.
Yeah,
So
and you said there was someone interested in this area, if I remember
he
correctly.
hasn't. Yep. Yep. And that's Joe. So he came to Omaha. He actually came in a day early, went to the zoo. We have the number one zoo in the nation here in Omaha, Nebraska. So he went and walked the zoo by himself, and then I went and picked him up downtown, brought him out west for the Discovery, and we take care. So if you do decide to come to Discovery, we take care of your hotel room. We put you up at the Marriott in West Omaha. Basically, the only thing that you're required or responsible for is getting your buns here,
Okay.
the plane ticket. We take care of the food, the drinks. It's a fun atmosphere. The first night's a social expo. You get a beer, a wine cocktail, or whatever, if you water, if you don't drink, and then you walk around, and it's an expo setting. So there's booths lined up in this room. There's 150 people. It's loud. It's really fun the first night. And also there's academies happening at the same exact time. So academy is when you decide to partner with Gatsby, there's an onboarding process. There's phase one, phase two. Phase two is Gatsby Glass onboarding. It's 7 weeks of Gatsby Glass University, and the last week of onboarding is academy. You bring you and your team to Omaha, Nebraska. It's a 5-day Monday through Friday classroom setting, a warehouse setting where you put together showers, commercial stuff, and then we go to the founding location, and you get to meet the team there. They get to see their entire facility.
Nice.
That's so we coincide academy with discovery,
Okay.
so that you guys that come in town can talk to the people that are about to open. And so it's pretty cool that you guys, I mean, it's intermingled. And then we have that social expo where you're walking around and you get to meet all the teams, all the different booths. I mean, Z Fleet's there. You can talk about vehicles and wrapping. We have an apparel company, so you can talk about all apparel. I mean, we have cool apparel too. I mean, we have Travis Matthew Gatsby Glass stuff. Um, there's the digital marketing agency booth. There's the IT booth, which is the Z Logic booth. They'll have a TV up where you can see all the KPIs and see how it works and what they do. I mean, it's pretty fun. And so that's the first night. The very next day, so then is like a high detail information overload where there's lots of presentations given to you. Gatsby brings you, like, takes you away from everybody. They give you just a Gatsby Glass hour-and-a-half presentation that's very in depth. You get to see all the marketing materials. You get to see all the signage. You get to see the flyers, everything, right there. And then after that, you have lunch, and then you have an opportunity to sit down one on one with the brand president. You sit down one on one with the director of operations. You sit down one on one with the director of marketing, and you get to see everything in person for 20 minutes. They're going to show you Engage, which is the virtual showroom. They're going to show you the visualizer tool. They're going to show you all the marketing material. They're going to show you onboarding. So the director of operations is going to go into detail about phase one and phase two. Phase one is funding strategy, creating your EIN, finding your flex space, starting to hire. And then phase two starts. That's Gatsby Glass onboarding, 8 weeks long. You can't speed it up. You can't slow it down. 8 weeks. And then after that academy, you're launching 14 days later.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we do here, and that's Discovery. So when you come to Discovery, when you leave, we meet your expectations. I always ask, hey, did we say do we meet your expectations? And everybody says, man, you guys you blew us away because the facilities are nice, the experts are here. When you meet people and you feel a culture of like closeness, it's a thing that people want to be a part of. So Joe came. So I guess to answer your question, Joe came. Joe's younger. So Joe is like in his, I think he's 23 or 24. So he's a younger cat. He's very smart and he's an entrepreneur. He's going to be an entrepreneur no matter what. You can just tell. But he lost his job and he didn't tell me until he got here. He lost his W-2 and he was a consultant. So like this dude, he moved to Europe for 6 years, for 4 or 6 years for his job. And now he's back. So he's a smart cat, but he's like, I wasn't fully transparent with you. I just lost my job, my W-2. That could affect the funding. And I'm kind of afraid now. And he's like, I'm not going to give a yes, but I'm not giving a no. I need to think about how I'm going to get through the funding to do this because I do want to do this. I know the Gatsby's for me. So he's in St. Petersburg. And I don't know if he's gonna actually pull the trigger, which is good for you.
Yeah, and like I said from the beginning, is like if it works, great. If not, it wasn't meant to be. That's how I feel like I
Yeah.
just try to step out in faith and all these things. That's why it's a lot of seeking wise counsel for what we're doing. And if the door's open, great. If the doors are slammed shut, then it is what it is. We move on to the next.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take it step by step. I'll let you know what Joe decides. But regardless, Joe doesn't even know if he wants St. Petersburg or if he wants Clearwater. So there's a lot of open doors right now. So let's jump into the territory mapping.
Yeah, I think we don't want to go to Clearwater. We don't want to go to Sarasota. We love St. Pete. We're
Okay.
probably going to be in St. Pete for
Okay.
at least another 10 years, if not much, much longer. But
Okay.
we love
How
this
far is
area.
Clearwater territory from you?
We're like on the south side of St. Pete, so maybe an hour,
Oh, is it that far?
depending
Okay.
on
I
like
thought it was like a 15, 30 minute drive. Okay. That's good to know. Because we wouldn't even let you operate an hour away.
yeah 40 minutes. I mean, I guess I'm thinking Clearwater Beach, which is another. It takes us almost an hour to get to Clearwater Beach because we're on the very south side of St. Pete,
Which
just
are which are zip code?
north of 33710. Yeah, yeah. So to go from there to touch Clearwater, the very bottom is probably maybe 20 minutes, but from where we're at to like where the Clearwater is written is about 45 minutes.
Got it.
So to then service Clearwater, which is even north of that, is going to be even
Yeah.
farther.
Up here.
Well, yeah, even where it says Clearwater 3T, that's probably like an hour and a half from where we're at.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay, so this is a three territory. And you'd probably get, so I would just do the same thing here that was given to you get all the islands here. You'd have all this area. It's a three territory, 600,000 population. For whatever reason, when I do this, this drags this one up. That's 33764. Okay, so you get 33764 with it. Because this HPV 20K approved, this is what all the we're supposed to be using this for all brands. This kind of the spot. So basically, they're giving you the zip.
Yeah, I wonder why it dips down. There's not many houses right in that strip.
Oh, right here, there's not.
Well, I think down like along that road is kind of a through line. There's a bunch of businesses and stuff there, so I don't know if the businesses count
I mean, I
differently
would
than the houses.
if we're gonna give it to you for free, I would take it. Yeah, we're not. You're not paying extra for it. Just take it. Um, because you never know, you could get called there and service it. Um,
Yeah, I guess glass. We're doing commercial potentially too. There's some
100%. Yeah.
commercial
Yep.
places in there.
St. Petersburg. That's, oh, I forgot the dot. Okay, so when I pull this socioeconomic demographics again, this 33764, I'll have to pull it separately to get the socioeconomic demographics for that zip code. But without it, we have 617,000. So you get a 17,000 overage for free, 102,000 household income, average household income, 42 years, average age of home, occupied home value, 154,000 in this all this blue area, and then we have single family dwelling units versus multifamily dwelling units, and that would be St. Petersburg. Now, if we want to look at Clearwater, this would be an apples to apples comparison. 642,000, 108,000 average household income, 34 years, average age of home, 165,000 average home value. So it goes up everything goes up just a little bit.
Yeah, I don't. I guess I've never quite looked at it like that. From your perspective, is that a huge difference? I guess for me, like it.
No,
Okay.
no, there's zero difference there.
Okay.
Like in demos, I mean,
I would say the
I'm not.
average house is just because maybe they're building a lot more like farther north in Clearwater.
Yeah,
That's probably what that is entail. Because I would say like Dunedin, Clearwater, is a lot of older. But if you go farther north of that, yeah, there's a bunch of just land that they're building out stuff on now.
Yeah, that's what that demo's coming from. Um, and at the end of the day, like you're from your area, you know what's advantageous and what's not. And also,
I mean, I
we can
guess
take,
unless it was like, I don't even know what it would make it much better for us to go up there, because I would just write it off to, like, even if it was 2 times better, I'd be like, that's fine, because I don't want to drive up there.
yeah, 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 I get it. And also, you can take a territory, a great territory, and if you put a bad operator in that good territory, it's like everything. But guess what? The exact opposite. You take a bad territory with a great operator, they can make that territory fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's what's wild about business and being an entrepreneur and just building people to build the business. Like it really does come down to you as an operator. It comes down to who you hire to run the team and who you can rely on. That's what business is about. And it's also going out and how you talk to people and how you build your own business. If you're motivating through inspiration and empowering people, you're going to get good people, and that's what Joshua Shumway does. Whereas if you motivate through fear, you're going to create that negative energy, and it's going to be people aren't going to want to work with you and do. And that's what the same with the subcontractors, the general contractor, the home builders. People feel your energy, man. And if you're negative energy, then people don't want to work with you.
Yeah, culture is huge. That's why
Yeah,
we were able to do so many very interesting things, because it that consulting business really just was a snowball effect from helping a local guy that was having a little bit of trouble. I really was just getting him online to sell online to kind of teach him that, but then I was looking at his business and I was like, yo, like, I think if you just change a couple of things, this whole thing would be a lot more streamlined. And he was like, "Oh my goodness!" I think it happens when you're the person working in the business and you're doing that all the time. You just, like, whatever the next thing is, you just solve that. You never like take a step back and look at the business as overall. It's very difficult unless you get to a certain point where you can, like, stop and look at your systems. But it was very apparent to me. But I mean, I went to school to be an engineer, so like systems building is what I am just like constantly in the back of my head. So when I see something that's very inefficient, it stands out to me. They were saying that's like reading your own label. It's very difficult to read your own label, but as soon as somebody else looks at it, like it's very easy to me. And getting better at just like consulting, of asking like who's waiting on work and who feels super overwhelmed. There's the bottleneck. Now let's dig in. It was like a handful of calls to find that out, and then conversations to figure out like what's actually going on, and then it was very easy to me, and I enjoyed it. But pass is a pass. It hurts me
yeah.
that that is gone, but the world is different now, so move on to the next.
And well, the biggest thing is you learn from that. You're a smarter person for it. You're a better entrepreneur for the experiences you went through. A lot of
Agree.
people, they're so scared because they haven't went through that experience. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
reason why
forged in fire is what everybody, all the older
every
guys would say.
successful, yeah, yeah, every successful entrepreneur, they they failed 5 times before they ever were successful. But nobody sees that until they tell you their
Yeah, you just
story.
see the tip of the iceberg.
I mean,
No,
even
it's amazing.
Mark Cuban, the most successful guys in the world, dude, they say it all the time. They're like, I failed 11 times before I actually succeeded, but you guys only see me, the end result. And so
Well, that's why I
the
like
greatest
Warren
thing,
Buffett's. He names his company Berkshire Hathaway, which was a failed textile company. Like, he purposely named it that to remind himself of that huge
yep,
failure. So it was just like, oh, okay, I'm par for the course. It is on track for. It's just what's the next venture now that I'm gonna try to get after, and how do I give myself a much higher chance of success than just forging ahead? I've gone through enough things and realized that you're way better together. How do I now
yep,
cheat to get back there? I'm sure I could do it on my own. It would take another 5, 10 years, but how do I leapfrog this? How do I get into something that is already kind of community and culture that I vibe with,
that's
and then let's crush it?
that's what we do. I just got my Berkshire Hathaway tickets today
Oh,
or yesterday,
nice,
so
nice.
I'm going to the shareholder
So
meeting.
you're in Oklahoma, correct?
I'm in Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska. Oh, okay.
So
Sorry,
that's where
Oklahoma.
Berkshire is.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah,
here.
yeah.
That's this is where Warren lives. Um,
Yeah, I've never been. I've watched the replays, but I've never been. So that's awesome.
it's a good spot. If you're into sports, we have the College World Series of baseball. It's the second week of June. We host it here every year. It's on ESPN for 2 weeks. It's really fun just because they get 8 different teams that fly through here, and so like the fans all come here. It's a really just positive energy. It's a good time. And then we have the number one zoo. We have Berkshire Hathaway. We have if you like football, we're college football freaks here. So that's all we have. We don't have any professional teams. So we have college football. Um, but we have Kansas City's 2.5 hours south of us too. So hop, skip, and a jump.
Nice. I didn't mean to
But
take us off track. I apologize.
it's all good. No, I like talking about home base. So I'll send you this map. I'll send you this territory, the demographics. When I pull the demographics, it's going to come into a spreadsheet like this, and then it's also divided by, it's broken down by zip code, by county. So it gets really granular. You can see exactly what zip codes you're going to kind of target. Uh, I'll send you this. Do you want to? Do you want to? I'm going to pull this zip code for you just so you can see it because it's added in there. It's not going to change the demo hugely, but I do kind of want to see it. Uh, so that's that. So this is just that one zip code. That's a lot. I mean, it's 26,000 people,
Mm-hmm.
102
Average home goes down a little
house.
bit, just a slight. I think some of those houses on the water are probably fairly new.
Oh, that's probably is probably
Yeah.
true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Even how they're redeveloping the area, it's very interesting. I mean, downtown
So
just got a huge facelift. Um, kind of during the pandemic. It was planned pre, but it got messed up. But
how about down here?
that's a
Well, that's
huge park. Fort DeSoto is a huge park. There is Terravera down there, which is like higher end homes, right above that. But it's pretty compact in there. Those are, I would say, getting the same like revitalized.
right.
There's an old fort out there. There's really good fishing out there.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
I heard that so St. Pete's and Clearwater is the best beach in the states.
I think so. I mean, there's always a fight for A1A area. They say it. I mean, it changes like every year. I think they just kind of like dish it out differently to different years. But where we're at, it's most of the time clear. I mean, if a storm or something comes through, yeah, there's some pretty big. It's I don't know. I've lived a lot of different places. Florida's the only place that I know that there's like a $2 million estate next to a $150,000 500 square foot stucco or even
Uh,
asbestos siding home. It's just like it's wild.
these homes are immaculate.
Yeah, and some
I
of
would
those
just
places on the water are getting torn down and rebuilt, and they are amazing.
all this. I got to go to St. Pete's. We were in Tampa, us for horsepower in January,
Yeah, it's almost a
but I didn't.
different. It almost has like an island vibe. I would say Tampa
Yeah,
feels like Florida, like maybe a younger version
right,
of Florida, but St. Pete has like an island vibe. A little bit Key
100%.
Westy, but not as eccentric.
That is crazy. Can you imagine living like on the tip of this
I have some
peninsula?
friends that live,
You just
well,
have to
had.
drive down to this circle to get to your house.
Well, they
Down,
take the boat more because there's places that you can go to Publix from the boat, so they would just take the boat. It's easier for them to grab the boat and just go than drive the car.
that's crazy.
And their kids,
Yeah,
I mean, it was, I don't know, when I first came out here, it was kind of Wild West. Their kids would take the jet ski, like 14, 50-year-olds would take the jet ski to go to like Publix to grab the stuff. I was just like, yeah, this is different. I've never been around this before. I grew up
there is
in
a lot
the
of
hood.
development. Yeah, that's a different lifestyle. Those kids are growing up different. Yeah, there's so much development here. This is glass mecca.
There's just not a lot of new development. That's why I was hoping to find out like how much of the business is new, but it seems like most of it is refurbishing bathrooms or kitchens or offices. At least that's from my understanding. So I feel like it's still, I guess that's maybe a question, and I don't know how to ask this, either on a validation call, is that what you call them?
Uh-huh.
What questions would I ask to know like if this area is a good fit for this business? Like what types of
This area is probably the best fit for this business. I mean, there is no better place. I mean, Josh will say that to you. He's like, you are in the best spot for glass. And that doesn't matter if you're going after new construction or remodeling. You have views everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Everywhere. That's what you're looking at is like the views of places and also just like the sophistication of the area. Like people want frameless shower glass, in their bathroom, but also the railings, that's where your money's at. I mean, I would cross market. I would go to every single house that has a railing, and I would drop a flyer off promoting railing glass, but then also cross market the showers.
Okay.
And then if they want a wine room or something else, I mean, that's what. So Jeff Novak, he's another validation call. You're going to be able to meet him. He's in Scottsdale. He has 5 territories. He's a monster when it comes to when he walks into every single bid. He goes there for a shower, but he's not there to bid the shower. They think he's there to bid the shower. He's there to walk through the house and give them ideas of different places. Then all of a sudden, when he walks out of the house, he has 3 bids. He has one for the shower. He has a mirror. He has a room partition that he's going to put a glass partition in there to separate the office from this den. And then he's also going to do the railing in the back because they didn't know we did all that glass. They thought we just did showers. So now he walks out and he has 3 or 4 different bids. They may only do the shower, but now they have this idea and this thought that in 6 months or a year from now, they have another project in mind.
Yeah, I guess that's more. If you did an amazing job at the bathroom, they're now educated enough to tell other people to go like, "Oh, I had these guys that did the bathroom, but they actually do all these other things. I had them quoted. We didn't end up going with it, but it's just like you're educating your affiliates. Essentially, is kind of what we used to do in the online space. But it's
So
the
when you
same
get
thing.
done with an install, the first thing you're going to do, I mean, obviously you're going to walk through, do everything. You're once you get done with the install, you're going to put a sign in their yard. You're going to ask them. You can put a Gatsby Glass sign. You're going to walk 3 houses to the right, put down flyers on their doors. 3 houses to the left, put flyers on the doors, or it could be even 5. And then walk across the street, do the 6 houses across the street, put flyers. And then every time someone walks into their house to see their shower, because they're going to show it off. It's the first. They want everyone that walks in the house to see their new bathroom, and then everyone's going to get, who did your glass? And they're going to say Gatsby Glass. That's the word of mouth that trails after you do every single shower. So if they, and once they start talking about that, they're going to say, oh, they do everything, just like you said. They do railings, they do mirrors, they do, and now you just have word of mouth trailing every single time with all the flyers, the stuff you leave behind as signage as well. And so that's called clover leafing, and we teach you how to do that. That's just one of the marketing strategies that we have, along with we have tons of other things that we do on a daily basis.
I have not heard that term quite like that, but we used to. I mean, we door knocked 4 houses and we did very similar things, but we were actually leveraging knocking for houses and finding products to resell at the same time. And we would do the same thing, hit the neighbors up and say, "Oh, we just bought the stuff for your neighbors," even yard sales and all that stuff. But I've never heard it called clovering quite like that.
Yep.
Is
Yep.
that an industry term or is that the
It is an
internal?
industry
Oh,
term.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we teach it to you. It's something we actually talk about and show to you in Discovery if you come to Omaha. That's part of the presentation. That's just one of the little things that we do every single time. It just starts building momentum. That's what all it's doing. But also everything that Joshua said, we are now implementing for everybody. We teach you, like reach out to every single Facebook, like Google or search different things, remodeling, new construction, and start just jumping into the groups and start, building conversations and relationships. But also leave your business card. Stop at a construction site. When you roll up in a Ram Pro Master glass rack and they're like, "Who are you?" Like no one has a wrapped glass vehicle like that. And then you say, "Hey, like, do you have a glass guy?" Typically they do, but they're not happy with them. And so if you can just follow through and do what you say you do, we're winning bids with GC. We're winning relationships with GCs, subcontractors, home builders. It's not that hard. Even in your
Nice.
first year, it's not.
Nice.
You're in a mecca. So you can ask any question you want to on validation, but everybody, I'm going to tell you, is going to go, dude, you're in the mecca of glass. Like You're talking to Oklahoma City yesterday. They don't have anything to look at in Oklahoma City. You know, it's all about oceanfront, lakefront, mountainous views, any landscape views. But in Oklahoma City, Omaha, Nebraska, there's not that much view. I mean, we do have some lakes here, um, but nothing like this. Nothing, not even close. So I'll send you this map, the socioeconomic demographics. Is there anything else that you have questions on or you request for me to follow through with?
I don't think so. I guess this is maybe an odd future question, but just thinking about growth. The glass company ramping this up and in a 5-10 year time frame thinking about buying other businesses that will, I mean, I hate to use the term vertical integrate, but stack on top of, what are some potential in-house brands that would pair nicely with Gatsby? Or are there any future plans to do full bathroom remodel, kitchen remodel, anything in that
Huh?
space?
So I don't know the future brands. I do know that the HVAC company is coming next, but there's so many different things that could come up after that. I'm looking at the other brands to see if there's anything in your area. So right now,
Are there any owners? I think I might ask this
that's what I'm
too.
looking up right now.
Are there any owners that own multiple franchises
Yeah. So
inside?
Sarasota. So our number one franchisees in Sarasota. They have
Okay.
three different brands.
How long has he
Uh,
owned those brands?
he was one of the first ones for Mighty Dog Roofing. So Mighty Dog Roofing was our first concept. Sarasota is like our number one franchisee.
Okay. And he obviously is not part of the day to day of all three of those, I would assume.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, they're scaled so bigly that they have the right people in line for managing the
Okay.
business. But
I guess it's
they're
not like, oh, I want to mirror him, but just knowing that that is a possibility and a reality. That's what I'm looking for. Has somebody done this, or am I crazy for even thinking that this is possible to do? But it seems
yeah,
like
we
if he
call
has.
he's a pioneer validation call.
Okay.
Like literally we call it that because he's been from the beginning. 3 years ago they started.
He has
Um,
Mighty Fencing or Mighty Dog Fencing. What other two?
so Mighty Dog Roofing is
Mighty
sold
Dog Roofing. Sorry.
in Mighty Dog Roofing. I'm pulling it up right. This is Mighty Dog. So this is that's everything. All this is sold for Mighty Dog. Everything here
Oh
is
wow.
taken, and all of this. So everything's taken from Mighty Dog. I mean, it's pretty saturated. We have 140 franchisees open. I mean, all across the state. Um, but I mean, when you say what would pair nicely, I mean, I think the blinds company would pair. I think the Stand Strong fencing would pair. iFoam spray insulation. Uh, I mean, if you want to be an addicts, everything's going to. I mean, keeping the houses cool in that area. Groovy Hughes is painting. Uh, Mighty Dog you won't be able to pair with just because there's nothing available. Groovy, I mean, there's Heroes Lawn Care, which doesn't even really focus on cutting grass. They do fertilization, irrigation, pet waste removal, mosquitoes, four concepts in one.
That monthly recurring revenue.
Yep, yep.
I do like that. And I did like how Joshua talked about the product upsell,
Oh,
glass
uh,
cleaning.
the glass thing, yeah, ultra ice breath. Yep. And so we teach you that it's a science, like it really is. He did a really good job of articulating that, but you learn it is a science. How you apply it, and how you sell it to the customer. It's an add-on feature, but you can do a subscription model with the kits, so it's just going out automatically. It's good. Um, so there's availability on all the brands except for Mighty Dog Roofing,
Okay.
which is good. And then by then, when you're looking to stack, we'll probably have two other brands out by then, two or three.
Nice.
Um, so
And you said the
that's
HVAC is next. There's no additional one on the horizon.
we had a pesticide company that we were going to launch called Exterminerd. but they held on because they held off on launching it because it's oversaturated. We try to find brands that are going to scale quickly and have a niche that are unique. So I don't know if they're gonna release it or not. But I mean, they had the logo and everything. It was about to launch, and then they pulled it. So Exterminators, we'll see if it gets launched or not. Um, any other questions at all?
I think that's it. You've been extremely
Okay.
helpful. I appreciate it. I'll try and
Yeah, yeah.
be on all of these calls. I go out of town on Friday.
Okay.
Um,
So you go out of town on the 19th this week,
yes.
and then you're gonna be gone all next week.
I come back hopefully Sunday night, Monday morning, and then we leave again the end of next week, the 26th, and then I'll be gone
Okay.
till like the 5th, I think is Monday, or the
So
6th.
you can jump on the calls next week.
Yes, I should.
Okay.
I mean, unless something direly goes wrong, or I
Just
mean,
make
we've
sure to
had a lot
jump
of
on the
hospital visits and everything else, but most of those are in the morning, so it shouldn't be a problem. But
just make sure to jump on the Tuesday call. That's the franchisee call. That's the most important one for you. And that's Lexington, Kentucky. It's Dan Howard. He has 4 territories. It's a good call to jump on too.
yeah, and looking back in hindsight, I probably could have jumped on the ones last week. I just mistimed some things and had those calls already booked out, but I could have moved them like how I moved them the next 2 weeks to just like make that free time open. Have those calls earlier in the day so I can let the later in the day.
What's your wife think about the concept?
Just in passing, I've been able to talk to her. She's way more focused on the. We're trying to have a child, so we're going through in vitro. So she's
Oh, okay.
setting all that stuff up. So we've gone through a couple of cycles now that has not worked. So she's been on the phone with the. We just had a consultation with the heads of all of these doctors. Again, we have like paperwork this thick where most people's fertility is like 7 sheets. We got like a huge stack. So they were in there talking to a bunch of people, and something that they said that really upset my wife was near the end, one of the head doctors was just like, "All right, well, what's the problem, guys?" And my wife did not take kindly to that question. He was joking, which I understood, but it was just wrong place, wrong time. So
Right.
she's not happy about that. So she's looking into other things, but we are reordering medicines for shots and everything. So all of her focus is on that. So, like I said, in passing, I've told her I said I think this is something that we could do. I think especially after talking to Joshua last night and then being able to talk to my wife for 10 minutes, just going like it seems like there's many opportunities for you to come in and make that transition easier, because I think that's what she's most, I wouldn't say nervous or concerned. It's just like that's her focus is just like, yes, whatever the next thing is that you're doing, I think I can be a part of it, but how does this transition happen? Do I quit the job and then go straight over? Is it a slow? I think she's looking for just like I can come in and do this twice a week, understand, get a feel for, get comfortable with, and then start coming over. Because even moving so much, my wife likes to nest, put her stuff in, get comfortable. Normally it takes about a year or a year and a half. By that time, I'm already like looking at the next house. So it's a cycle of uncomfort to comfort to uncomfort to uncomfort, which I understand, but it's just a balancing act. But right now with the baby, it just kind of throws stuff out of whack. So she's aware, probably not to the depth that she needs to be, but I don't feel like I am either. After this call, after last night's call, I feel a lot more capable of having deeper conversations. But when we go out of town the 26th for almost those 2 weeks, we're going to be on a cruise. So I'm just taking notes here. I'm typing them all up, and then on the cruise I can like go over and say, all right, we looked at this one, this is what I think on this is how we're going to do. Here's some local businesses that I don't really think are a good fit, because every time you ask them about their paperwork, they always go like, well, here's my taxes, but it's just like,
Right.
all right, man, I'm not, you do whatever you do, but I can't buy a business on a hypothetical multiple or a number that's your EBITDA is made up, and then I'm multiplying a make up number. It's just like I'm not doing that.
Right.
So if whatever the taxes are, I'm looking for seller discretionary earnings. That's what I'm going to give you a multiplier off of anyway. So whatever you're trying to do to fudge the numbers is like I don't care. What are you saying you
Is that
take
a
home?
resale? Are you talking about resales?
An actual just there's a local um, window company, HVAC company. Uh, I can't think of the other one right now. But they're just small, like mom and pop shops. that I was
Right.
looking at, because I we have some real estate. I was just looking for what could I pair nicely with this, where I don't have to be like super distracted, but it should add on. And the real estate that the way that we do it is just like, it's maybe a little bit of run up to like find the house, buy the house, repair the house, and then rent it. But the way that we rent it, we try to really get long term tenants. Most of our tenants stay with us for a minimum of 5 years, if not a lot longer. The system that I was getting from those older guys, they had tenants stay with them for 30 plus years. That's the system that I like to implement. So it's not a bunch of turnover or stuff that to juggle. So I can focus more on business. I was able to do that. But I felt like if the market is kind of hard for the way that I like to operate, business is something that I want to lean into. What does that business look like? I don't want a business that's just like a childcare or a dog or food or any of that stuff. Like, how can I find a business that is in the same um,
Just so
vertical?
you know, when it comes to beauty, fitness, and food, it's different than home service. Home service, you have one flex space and you can get multiple
Yeah, that's why all
territories.
the
Where
other stuff is
all
off the
those other
plate.
ones, you
Yeah.
have to have a brick and mortar for each territory you get,
In the
and
beginning, I
you're
was looking at a
existing.
lot of that. That's why I said I don't think a franchise is for us, but I didn't even know home services was franchisable. That's why I'm now leaning a lot more this way. And I would have thought buying a business, I guess a resale, but buying a business that's already up and going would have been a better fit for me and my wife. But the more I look into it, the more I try to get actual numbers. Maybe it's just the home services, maybe another business. They don't do so much like cash or wink wink stuff, but I don't know. Um, I've only sold a business, I've never bought a business, so I only have one side in perspective
What's
of.
funny, Joshua said that too. He said he was looking at a resale, and the guy like did the wink wink thing to him and said, "This is what we have on paper." And he's like, "Yeah, he wasn't comfortable with that either."
That's why
That's
I
kind
think
of funny.
for
You
me,
probably did resonate with him a lot
yeah,
then.
Joshua was like the perfect person to have a conversation with. It just was like, oh, okay, this is what I was looking for, and he pairs very closely to what I've done. That's why I said even down to the nonprofits, where like after that being frazzled, that crisis space, I was just like, well, let me try and serve, because then I know I have skills and gifts and abilities. Let me try to do that and lean in on that so I can at least feel like I'm providing something somewhere, so I don't feel like I'm doing nothing. So that was another good thing that I think I did. But again, everything he was saying, it was just like I'm checking all those boxes too. And I just was like, oh, if he could do that and he's kind of gone through that, I feel confident that this is something that me and my wife can do.
That's good. I'm glad. So now, if you jump on the other three, they're going to have a completely different kind of outlook. Maybe not different outlook, but like a different feel, different personality, different market. And so, yeah, you'll
Yeah,
get
I'm
more
interested to
comfortable once
see
you jump
how
on.
they do it from like a more hands off look. I don't think that's going to be what we're trying to do in the first probably even 3 years, but just like after
Yeah,
3 years, that's when I'm hopefully after two, I'm really looking to like, all right, what's the next thing? I feel like we kind of have this dialed in. What's the next business we're going to buy? Because I would like to be like the guy in Sarasota that has multiples and building kind of
stacking.
their
Yeah.
own empire is what I'm looking to do
Okay.
next.
Good to hear. Yeah. It's all good feedback. I love it. Yeah, you're exactly, and I'll be transparent. You're exactly the type of person I'm looking for in Gatsby. My job is to bring on franchisees, but more importantly, bring on high caliber operators that are competent, that are driven, smart, driven, and hungry. I think that he said what smart, hungry, and he said something else was Joshua's terms, but that's what I'm looking for as well in the eco because that's going to help the brand overall. And the guys that I've been bringing on are our type of guys. It's a Joshua. You'll meet Dan Howard. Dan Howard's a stud. He's a medical device representative. He's semi-involved. He hired a GM, sales manager, install technician. His wife's a nurse practitioner. He's on Tuesday, and so he's savvy. He has 4 territories in Lexington, Kentucky, and he's already. I mean, he doesn't have like the long-term data yet because I think he's in his second month of operation, so he's pretty new, second or third. But
Oh, is
he
that how
had
you
deep.
try to get them? You try to get them like new, mid, longer, so
Yeah,
that you have a
yeah.
way.
So
Okay.
like Joshua Shumway's the longest. Like he's my year guy. I have Marshall Hall. He's my 7 month guy. So Marshall Hall's semi-absentee. He's an ER doctor. And then I have Dan Howard, who's like 3 months now. I think yeah, 3 months now. And then I have Jeff Novak. He just launched. So Jeff Novak's in Scottsdale. He just launched 3 weeks ago. And so
Nice.
like he's really fresh, but Jeff Novak is a monster when it comes to building people. And you'll know it right when you start talking, you're going to love him. Everyone does. He's just like, he's the guy that, the law of attraction, where like you're a good human being. That's Jeff Novak. And he barrels through any obstacle. He doesn't care about anything. He knows he's going to be the highest producer in the ecosystem. He knows it, and I believe it. Like, yeah, I think he's going to be too.
Nice.
He's that personality, and I'm so happy I brought him on because that's just positive energy for the entire brand. And that's what really, I mean, that's what it is. It's a brotherhood and a sisterhood of people coming on, and they all have the same common goal, and that's to drive business, build people, and be successful.
So I guess yeah, you're I guess part of the culture building. That is, I guess as I'm vetting, you must be vetting me at the same time.
100%, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
I
why I
wasn't thinking
told you
about it
you're
like
the
that.
exact same. You're the type of person I'm looking for. If you were not the type of person I'm looking for, I don't give you the attention and the time because I would go. I'm trying to find,
The right fit
there's a
for.
caliber of person that we're trying to bring on into the ecosystem. But you're right aligned with what we're looking for, 100%.
Yeah, I would say those things that you listed off is not necessarily like right on par for what I'm doing, but I feel like I'm on the flip side of just like now I'm worn, torn, beat up, ready to restart, re-venture, like turning over a new chapter. So I'm getting all of those like hungry, motivated pieces back. But I
Yeah.
am coming out of that like wave of crisis, war torn, blood, sweat, tears. I feel like I've been in the trenches for a long time, just like ready to go. Like, all right, I'm gonna charge again, but I don't want to jump up there by myself. Like I've done that enough times to know like I'm getting very close to 40. I don't want to run out and get shot and take all those bullets by myself. Like I love Joshua's story. I'm like, great.
You
I understand what you were doing. I don't
you
want to
can't
do
do
that.
this by
I will
yourself.
come behind you
Yeah.
gladly. That's what I'm looking for.
The guys I'm looking for are guys that want to build people. I mean, that's the biggest thing because you can't do this by yourself. Even with all the training that we have and stuff. I mean, if somebody were to try to do this by themselves, you would get burnt out, like stressed out. So what your job is to get the right people in the right seats to help build the business, and that's what I'm looking for.
Okay,
Those kind of
that nailed it perfectly because I think that's the biggest thing that me and my wife had talked about is just like what type of business are we trying to do. Some of the other
yeah,
home services stuff that we've looked at is a lot of subcontractors, and we don't. I think we want W-2 actual employees for that reason of culture building. I don't know if I said this before or not. I apologize, but my wife has been a manager at this place for probably 20 some odd years. And every year we have to have 2 or 3 Christmas trees up because she's getting presents from people under her that she's the manager of and above management, which I was like, I've never given a boss of mine a present, and I've never given I've given employees, I guess, presents, but I've never given a
true,
boss. So it's just very interesting that she's like, she's
true,
one of those people where it's just like everybody wants to be around her. She's very like
yeah,
kind,
yeah,
caring. She's loving. The opposite of me, where I'm just like, this is business, this is data, this is what we need to do. She's a very good yin and yang for what we try to do. So even the consulting business that I had some staff, but it wasn't really working. She connected me with her cousin because she's Filipino, and then from that relationship, and then just understanding, and then she found the next person, and then she was the person in the business, not my wife, but her cousin, that helped me build it up the way that it was. Because I was like, this isn't working. I need these people to do this, but they're not doing it. And my wife said the same thing that like a lot of people say. People don't care unless they know how much you care, and they're not going to do anything you want unless you care about them. Like the only way to care is actually care, and you might be a little bit in at the time. I think I've gotten a lot better at it now, but at the time it was just like, I have the capability of doing that. You need to find somebody like me that wants to be in your business, that cares, then you'll take over. And then she helped me find that person, and we grew all kinds of teams and had a whole bunch of people. So I understand what my weaknesses are. I'm trying to work on them, but growing a culture
you're
in
an
the
operations
people.
guy and she's a manager. Leaders, the best leaders are ones that empower people and they're in there and they're making people feel
Yeah, I'm
good.
a visionary and like a high end next, what are we doing, not a necessarily day to day. That's not my jam at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I understand that, and I
That's
partner with people that I can see, oh, you're a great day to day, perfect, let's now rock this way.
yeah. I love it, man.
All right,
That's
well, I
great that
appreciate
you
it.
have
I
that balance.
ran you over, but thank
All right,
you.
that's all good. You got it, man. I'll talk to you next week. And we set up the next call for.
No, I don't
Let
think
me make
so.
sure I. Did we not set up the next call?
No, we had a call on Friday, but we moved it because I'll be out of town.
So when did we set up for the next call?
I think the mapping was Friday, but we moved it to today. I don't think we have a
Okay,
next
let's
unless
set up
you.
another call, just a touch point call, so we can. You said you're gonna jump on calls next week.
Yeah,
Can
maybe
we
Wednesday
meet?
after the next Tuesday validation call. I enjoyed this, like after that call, having a little bit of.
Sure. So 24th.
Yes, if we can
What time is good for you? Same
do.
time or different time?
probably a different. I
I
have a
can't
call
do.
at 10,
Me
but
too.
these run long, so I'd say 11, but I might be a little late if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
Or you want to do
11,
11:30? 11:30 might work best.
11:30 is that Eastern or Central?
Eastern, if possible.
Okay, so that'd be 10:30 Central. That's fine. I'll send you a calendar invite for Wednesday, April 24th at
Or if you need to
10:30
do it,
Central.
you have a call.
No, I'll be done at that time.
Okay,
So I have a call from 9:30 to 10:30, and then
okay,
I'll do your call 10:30 to
perfect,
11:30.
perfect,
I'll send you a calendar invite for that. It's just a touch point call, and then we'll
perfect.
we'll keep moving forward.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. Good seeing you again.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye.